I was your regular teenage guy. I wasn't popular, but I wasn't a loser either. My friends and I enjoyed playing sports, beating each other at video games, and boasting about girls we'd been out with. My grades were average, and my family was boring and ordinary. My parents were rarely ever home because they were always busy working, so most of the time I was home babysitting my 2 younger twin brothers. Well, one day, my average life spiraled out of control. But before I tell you about how it spiraled out of control, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and when you do, something amazing will happen today. As soon as I got up, I could sense that something was wrong. I hopped out of bed to get my brothers ready for school as usual. I opened my bedroom door and began walking down the stairs. Before I was halfway down the stairs, I saw the figure of an unfamiliar man standing in the living room. He was poking some buttons on the television. It was extremely unlikely that my parents had let him in. We never had visitors. Was he a thief? I was terrified. "Mom! Dad!" I shouted. "There's someone in the house!" I screamed. The man turned around instantly and smiled at me. "Good morning, Simon. We were waiting for you before we started breakfast. Go, sit at the table. Hurry," he said. "Who are you? Who invited you over for breakfast?" I asked. "You're such a silly boy. Stop your jokes. Hurry, or you'll be late for school," he said. I went to the dining room hoping my parents would have some explanation for this strange man. When I walked in, I was shocked. Sitting around the table were 4 people, an old lady, a younger woman, and 2 little girls. They all had red hair and green eyes. I had never even seen these complete strangers in our neighborhood before, and I had no idea who they were. "Yay, Simon's up," shouted one of the girls. "What? Who are you? How do you even know my name?" I asked. "Ha ha ha, Mommy, Simon is being silly again," she said to the woman. "Good morning, son. Why don't you sit down? I made your favorite food," the woman said. "Why did you call me son? I don't even know who you are," I replied. "Now, Simon, you're taking your jokes a little too far," said the strange man as he walked in. "We've been waiting all morning for you to wake up. Eat your breakfast and get ready for school," he continued. He sounded stricter this time. I was totally confused, but I decided I'd figure out what this all was later. I ate breakfast and then left. As I was walking to school, I started to feel extremely scared. I still hadn't seen my parents that morning, and I wanted to know why they invited people over for breakfast and then left me there alone. Also, why did this woman call me son? I took out my cell phone and tried to call my mom, but it rang twice and then I heard nothing. I tried calling my dad, but it wouldn't ring at all. The last option was to go to my brother's elementary school to find out if they were okay. It was completely odd that they had left the house before me because I'd always walked them to school. I quickly changed directions and headed towards their school. When I got there, I went straight to their classroom and signaled to their teacher so she'd come to talk to me outside. "Good morning, Miss Harper. I haven't seen my brothers this morning. Are James and Oliver okay?" I asked. "James and who?" she asked. "My twin brothers, James and Oliver. They're supposed to be in your class. Are they here?" I said. "I'm sorry, but I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have anybody in my class with those names. I don't even think we have twins at our school," she exclaimed. She looked confused. Was she playing a joke on me? I pushed her aside and looked inside of the classroom. All the seats were filled, but there was no one who looked like James or Oliver. What was going on? I ran back outside and took my phone out of my pocket. Had they been kidnapped? Was the teacher paid to lie to me? I had no idea, so the most logical thing for me to do was to call the police. I quickly dialed the number and explained to them that there were 5 strangers in my house and that I could not reach my mom and dad. They asked me for my parents' names and my address. They told me to go back to the house and to wait for them outside. I went back home and stood behind a tree waiting for the police to arrive. When they arrived, I ran towards them. "It's me, Simon. There are people in my house and I don't know who they are. I can't get in touch with my parents, and I think that something has happened to my brothers," I said. They knocked on the door and the strange man opened it. "Good morning. Is there a problem?" he asked. "We received a call that there are people in this house who are not authorized to be here," said one of the cops. "What? This is my house and only my family is inside," he replied with an innocent and confused expression on his face. "Liar!" I screamed. "You're not even from this area. I've never seen you before in my life," I screamed. I turned back to the cops. "He's a madman and he's lying to you," I said. "Simon, what is all of this about? "I'll show you proof that I own this house," he said to the cop. He invited them inside and went to get a folder. He opened it and handed some papers to the cop. "Our son has been acting a bit strange lately. We apologize for the inconvenience," said the strange man. "Well, you've got to get him some help. Cops are very busy and we don't really have time for this," the cop replied. "What? You believe him? I don't know who these people are. Please help me," I said, but before I could finish, the cops had left. "Simon, please calm down. Go to school and we'll talk about this later," he said. "I don't know who you are and these strange people are, but I'll get to the bottom of this and you'll be sorry," I screamed at him and stormed off. I ran to school, and when I got there, I planned to go straight to the principal's office. In the hallway, I bumped into my close friend, Kyle. "Hey, you're late today," he said. "Kyle, listen, something really weird is happening. This morning, I woke up and my family was gone. My house was full of people I'd never met before in my life. A mom and dad, a grandmother, and 2 girls. They all look alike and they pretended like they've always been there. I don't know where my real parents are or my brothers are. I called the cops, but they did nothing. I'm totally freaked out and I don't know what to do," I said. "Dude, you're totally off your rocker. Your brothers, you say? You've never had brothers. You just have 2 little sisters, Eloise and Anna," he laughed. "Anyway, hurry up or you're going to be late for chemistry," he added while continuing to laugh. He walked away and I ran towards the office. "I need to speak to Mr. Harris. It's an emergency," I said to the secretary. "Okay, just hold on 1 second, Simon." She smiled at me and got up to get him. He came out shortly after. "Simon, shouldn't you be in class? This better be a real emergency," Mr. Harris said while motioning for me to enter his office. I sat down and explained the situation to him while he looked at me with a serious face. When I finished, he looked at me sternly. "So you say the people in your house aren't your family. However, the people you described to me are the people I've always known to be your parents. Do you think I have time for jokes? I'm a very busy man. Have you been taking anything?" he asked. I was bewildered. "Taking anything? What do you mean? Like drugs?" I replied. "Teenage boys tend to experiment sometimes. I'm just letting you know it's dangerous, and if you're taking anything, you need to stop. Anyway, I'm going to speak to the school counselor about this. You need to talk to someone," he said. "And quite frankly, they don't pay me enough to deal with crazy students," he muttered under his breath. "Mr. Harris, what do you mean? I am completely clean and I've never tried a drug in my life. There is nothing wrong with me. I'm telling the truth. Why won't you believe me?" I screamed. "Make your way to the counselor's office immediately. I will call her right now," he replied emotionlessly. I could not believe it. I got up and turned away, feeling defeated. I slowly made my way towards the counselor's office. When I arrived, she was waiting for me. "Principal Harris just called. He sounded worried. Have a seat, Simon, and make yourself comfortable. Can I get you anything?" she said. "No, thanks," I replied while I sat down. "What's going on? Tell me everything and I'll try my best to help," she said. I told her the whole story and she just stared at me. "Please tell me you believe me," I said at the end. "Well, it is quite difficult to do that because we all know your parents and they're the exact same people you described as being in your house this morning. Listen, Simon, if you're taking anything illegal, you could risk ruining your entire future. These substances are also harmful. I'm going to recommend that you get tested and afterwards we will take it from there. Please go back to class," she said. I left her room and slammed the door. I walked into my class and sat down angrily in the back. Suddenly, everyone turned around and started laughing at me. "We've heard you've totally lost it, Simon," shouted Jenny, the most annoying girl in class. "Oh, I just woke up and I can't find my family," the class bully Greg mocked. Everyone laughed again. I turned to Kyle. "Did you tell them?" I asked. He turned away and started to laugh. I felt betrayed. There was absolutely nobody I could count on. The cops thought I was crazy. The principal didn't believe me. The counselor thought I was taking drugs. And now, my best friend made the whole class believe I was a lunatic. Quiet down, quiet down. It's time to get back to work," our chemistry teacher tried to shout over the laughs. "You know what? All of you shut up. I'm going through the worst time of my life right now, and all you can do is laugh." I stood up and screamed. I grabbed the closest chair and threw it across the room. All the laughing stopped and everyone looked shocked and frightened. "Go to the principal's office right now," the teacher shouted. I left the room and went to sit outside of Mr. Harris's office. After a few minutes, I was called inside and asked to sit down. "I'm very worried about you. First, you came to me with this ridiculous story, and now you're throwing furniture across the classroom?" he said. "My story isn't ridiculous. It's all the truth," I replied. He said he was going to call my parents because my behavior was unacceptable. The strangers arrived after a short while and looked frustrated. We all met and they all decided that I had lost my mind. Many months passed and my biological parents still have not reappeared. I was sent away to live in a psychiatric hospital for teenagers because I refused to accept that these strangers were a part of my family. I became very angry and continued to have tantrums because nobody would believe me. Everyone was convinced that I was crazy. Life is better here, though. I have new friends and I have more time to think about how to find my family. Plus, anywhere is better than being with these invaders who are now living in my house.